Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Now, what is Open Mic? We see on the John Campea Show Monday through Friday. We saved some time at the end to take some live questions, but here on the weekends on Open Mic, that's all we do. It's just all live questions, talking about the stuff we want to talk about. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm still just, Ann and I, my wife Ann, we went out for a date night last night, and we just started talking about Toy Story 4. And the more I ponder and think about Toy Story 4, the more I like it. I've still only seen it the one time. I got to go back and watch it again. But I mean, I still think right now, maybe I'll change my mind after I watch it for a second time. But as of right now, I still think I have Toy Story 3 as my number one Toy Story movie. But I'll tell you what, when you're talking about a franchise that's got 100% movie, 100% movie, and 98% movie, and now, I don't know, what's Toy Story 4 at now, 98, 97, whatever. Saying you're not necessarily the best out of the bunch isn't that bad of a thing. But the more and more I think about the movie, the more wonderful it is. It's funny and charming and heartfelt and deep. Like, it asks like real existential questions, which I was just floored with. But anyway, I won't go into a full review of Toy Story 4 again, but I got to go see that at some point. I'm going to try to watch some UFC fights tonight if I can. Got a nice, and then don't forget, guys, tomorrow afternoon, this is why I brought up Toy Story. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be doing a Toy Story 4 open spoiler discussion. Now, I know not all of you have seen Toy Story 4 yet, but for those of you who have and you want to just be able to have an open spoiler discussion about it, we're going to do that tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. And don't forget as well, tomorrow at 11 a.m., we have our regular open mic. So tomorrow's a busy day, 11 a.m. open mic, 3 p.m. Toy Story 4 open spoiler discussion. So, okay, with all that down and out of the way, let's jump into the live questions that you guys have already started sending in. And we're going to start things off here with Blu-ray Billy, who writes, opening weekend prediction for Far From Home. Okay, so right now, I'm going to peg the opening weekend at 145 million. Now remember, you're asking me opening weekend. That's opening weekend proper. It's opening on a Tuesday, which is unusual. So those numbers do not count Tuesday, Wednesday, most of Thursday. If you're just asking for the proper opening weekend, I'm guessing the true opening weekend will be about 145. Overall, from when it actually opens on Tuesday, could probably top 170. But it could be even higher than that if the word of mouth starts spreading about how good this movie is, and I still haven't watched it myself. Then it could go even higher. But right now, I'll say opening weekend proper will be 145. All right, JB Bonifacio writes, watched Toy Story 4 last night. I still can't get over how photorealistic the environments were, especially the antique store and the opening scene. Oh my God. I mean, you forget how far Pixar has come. Well, the whole industry has come. But in talking about Pixar and Toy Story in particular, you forget and don't realize how far they've come because it's been gradual growth, right? It's been gradual improvements in the animation techniques. But now, after you watch Toy Story 4, go back and watch a 2-minute clip of Toy Story 1, and it's night and day. I mean, it's completely night and day, as it should be with so many years that have gone by. But you're right, as somebody who used to work in the CGI industry, I was just jaw dropped open. How they maintained the total aesthetic of Toy Story while also increasing the quality of everything else. Visually, it was astounding. Just absolutely astounding. And I loved it, and I completely agree with you, JB. All right, Donaldo Martinez writes, good morning, Mr. Campea. Well, good morning, Donaldo. Do you like to watch Sir David Attenborough's nature documentaries? That's funny you asked that. I find his work very fascinating. He's in his 90s and still narrating really great documentaries. The reason I say it's funny you asked that is I don't know how I started, but about 3 weeks ago, I've got my YouTube app open on my TV, right? And I like to just open up my YouTube app to see what the latest tech little videos are, what the latest phone review or laptop review or graphics card review is, and I go into it all the time to review and rewatch my shows that I do because that's the only way I can learn and grow. So, but when I was on there, for some reason, there was a 4-minute clip of one of David Attenborough's nature documentaries, and I think it was something about family habits of baboons, something like that. And I don't know why, but I was just, well, that looks interesting. I clicked on it and I watched it. And that brought up a suggested video of chimpanzees fighting baboons or something like that. I'm like, oh, click on that. And the next one was chimpanzees attacking and eating other chimpanzees. I'm like, what? That sounds wild. What? Click on that. And then it got into lion stuff and elephant stuff and the migration habits of the wildebeests across the savannah stuff. And I just got hooked into it. And now for like 3 weeks straight, every time I pop on my Roku and turn on the YouTube app, I watch like 2 or 3 of these like 3 or 4 minute clips. And like 90% of them are David Attenborough stuff. And I've watched like a number of his other ones as well. Yes, but it's just really funny that you would ask me that when I've been in the middle of this little kick of watching these little nature documentary clips. So thanks for asking that, Donaldo. And they're great. They continue to be amazing. Let's see. Dropkick Aggie writes. Oh, nothing. Just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Dropkick Aggie. Topher Rocks writes, going to see John Wick 3 for the 3rd time today. Do you think we will ever see the impossible task that got John out in a future Wick film? I hope not. I hope not. And by the way, I've still only seen John Wick 3 twice. I got to get, before it leaves theaters permanently, I got to get out and try to find it and watch it on the big screen again. I love this movie. I hope they don't. I do not like this habit in Hollywood of like, sometimes the mythos of something is just better to leave it as the mythos. Leave the urban legend of John Wick, like this amazing John Wick story, leave it as the urban legend. Because no matter what you feel, no matter what you film, it can never live up to what's in our imaginations, right? So I don't think they will, and I don't think they should. I think they should just, we heard about it. That's all we need to know. You don't have to go back and replay everything from history. Just move the story forward. So I don't think they will, Topher, and I don't think they should either. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that. But I do got to go back and watch John Wick 3 again. Dropkick Aggie writes, waiting to see Toy Story 4 next weekend so I can watch with my girlfriend. The things we do for love, man. Maybe I'll watch Aladdin again. That kind of reminds me of a little Jamie Lannister quote there. Oh, by all means, go back and watch Aladdin again. You know, I've seen it twice in theaters. And I liked it. I liked it the first time I saw it. I liked it even more the second time I saw it. It's a delightful little movie. It's not Toy Story 4 good or anything like that. It's not Jungle Book good, but I thought it was a delightful, entertaining movie. I had a really good time, and Will Smith really impressed me. So, yeah, man, go see Aladdin again. Go see John Wick 3 while you can. Maybe go check out that Avengers Endgame stuff with the extra post-credit stuff. Maybe go do that, but that's good if you had to wait for your girlfriend to go watch it, and you'll be glad that you did. You'll be glad that you did. All right, Chris Feldman writes, favorite Natalie Portman performance, Black Swan. Black Swan. Although, I do have to say, this new one she's got coming out with John Hamm and Zazie Beetz, it was called Pale Blue Dot. I can't remember the name of the movie now. There's this movie she's got coming together where she's a female astronaut, had an affair, blah, blah, blah. But it used to be called Pale Blue Dot, and then they just recently changed the name of it to something else, and I can't remember what they changed the name to. That looks fascinating and incredible. I can't wait to see it. But yeah, I got to go Black Swan, man. Absolutely Black Swan. All right. Andres Martinez writes, difference between someone's agent and manager. Dude, don't laugh. I remember I was sitting, which one of my actor friends was it? It might have been Aaron Cummings that I was sitting with. My friend Aaron, she was in Spartacus and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I was like asking you, what is the difference between agent and manager? Because I'll be honest with you, I've never been really, really clear. Even watching Entourage, where Ari was Vinny's agent, but his buddy was his manager. I'm like, wait, what's the difference between that? The best I can gather is that like the agent actually talks to the studios and negotiates your deals and blah, blah, blah. Whereas your manager kind of overall helps steer your career overall. So the agent's role, I believe, is more specified, and the manager's role, I believe, is more all-encompassing. I know that's not a great definition because, just to be honest, I'm not really clear on it myself. I've asked a couple of actors and a couple of my directors, what's the difference between an agent and a manager? And they would explain to me the agent, and I'm still like, yeah, I'm still not totally clear on that, even though you've just explained it. So I don't know. I'm going to have to look up that myself, but there is a difference. Again, I believe one is more specified in what their task is. The agent is specifically about you and roles, getting you lined up with movie roles, getting you in the room with certain people, negotiating your deals, all that kind of stuff. Whereas your manager, I believe, is a more a bigger picture thing of helping to manage and guide and steer your career about the things you should be doing and not be doing. But again, I'm the wrong guy to ask. So that's my best thought on it. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, Tony, there's a whole bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who already time traveled. Bruce, no one cares about them. Don't ruin my big moment. I have absolutely no idea. No idea what we're talking about. If we're talking about like that one season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where they actually did do the time travel thing, which was weird the way they did it, and then the one guy just put himself in a frozen chamber. I try to think about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as little as possible, to be honest with you. Noel Nguyen writes, your best. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and F the Prom Queen. One of the best Nick Cage movies of all time. One of the greatest, if not the greatest line. All due respect to all of Sean Connery's James Bond stuff. Probably the best line that ever, completely inappropriate, but oh my God, it's funny. Probably the best line to ever come out of Sean Connery's mouth was in The Rock when he says, "Your best." I do a terrible Sean Connery. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and F the prom. He doesn't say F. Winners go home and F the prom queen. It's just coming out of Sean Connery's mouth. There's something about that takes it to a new level of hilarity. It is I love The Rock. I love that movie. And I love Sean Connery in it. Nick Cage is great in it too. I just dig that movie so much. One of the best lines ever. All right. Chris Hamilton writes, can you see Disney rebooting the MCU within the next 5 to 7 years? Absolutely. Properly introduce the X-Men and reintroduce Inhumans. Here's the thing. I don't see why you would want Inhumans, to be honest with you. I think if you've got the X-Men, I don't see there any need or purpose to have Inhumans. I really don't. I mean, we all knew for a long time when the MCU was looking at developing Inhumans, it was their replacement for mutants. Inhumans was going to be on the screen their replacement for mutants since Fox had the X-Men. Then they put out that absolutely abysmal television series, which was awful. I'm not a fan of how they managed Inhuman stuff in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, and Inhumans simply are not popular. So now that they're getting the X-Men back, functionally speaking, for your cinematic universe, what's the point of having Inhumans? And I don't say that as any disrespect to the characters, the Inhumans, or anything like that, but I'm just saying from a practical, pragmatic point of view, if you've got X-Men now in your universe, what's the point of Inhumans? They were kind of a poor man's replacement they always were from the beginning for the cinematic reasons. They were a poor man's replacement for X-Men. Well, now you got X-Men. So I don't see them doing that. Rebooting the next 5 to 7 years? Yeah, I mean, look, Feige says he's got his next 5 years planned out. We'll see where that goes. And I don't know, but I believe it's possible. I do believe it's possible. Chris Feldman writes, do you think Cher is a better actress or singer? Well, Cher, I believe she won an Academy Award for Moonlighting. What was the name of the movie she did with Nick Cage? I keep forgetting. I believe she won an Academy Award for it. You know what? Now I got to look it up. Cher IMDb. And the movie that I'm thinking of, Moon Dancing. I think Moon is in the title there somewhere. I don't know why IMDb is taking so long to load up. But at any rate, let's put it this way. Moonstruck, not Moonlighting. That was the Bruce Willis show, of course. And yes, she won. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, so she won Best Actress in 1988 for Best Lead Actress for Moonstruck. Nicolas Cage was in that with her. I totally forgot that she got another Academy Award nomination earlier than that in 1984 for Silkwood, which I totally forgot about. So she did not win for that one. I'm going to say singer just because she's accomplished a lot more as a singer than she has as an actor. So I'm going to go singer. All right. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, recently I started watching an exclusive TV crime series called Bosch on Amazon Prime. Yes, video. It's pretty awesome. Have you seen it? I saw the first 2 seasons of Bosch. I thought the first one was great. I thought season 1 was great. I thought season 2 was good. I didn't think it was as good as the first season, but I thought it was good. And then I saw that season 3 came out, but I never got around to watching it. And I cannot remember the name of the lead actor, but he's a lead actor who pops up in everything. You know, he was in Sons of Anarchy. He's in the new Shaft movie. He just pops up in everything, and I keep forgetting his name. But he's great. And again, I stopped watching after season 2 for no particular reason. I just never jumped back on board with it when I think season 3, it's season 3 that's already out, right? Anyway, I just never jumped back on board with it, but I did enjoy especially the first season. It was kind of a good murder mystery, 90s movie murder mystery kind of like what is it, Kiss the Girls? It was kind of that sort of a feel to it, and I really dug that, so that's why I like season 1. All right, Lone Wolf X6 writes, I am inevitable. I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers. I am Iron Man. I am Batman. Snap. Well, technically speaking, Lone Wolf, it's I'm Batman, not I am Batman. All right, so that's the one thing that's a little different here. I am inevitable. I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers. I am Iron Man, but it's I'm Batman. So there's just a little bit of a difference in there. Kenneth Colton writes, hail Captain Canada. My theory for the Spider-Man Far From Home end credit scene will be something to do with the multiverse. Curious what you think. I don't know. I mean, Robert Meyer Burnett still has this theory that the whole multiverse thing is a big misdirect, which is fine. Personally, I really hope they kill this multiverse thing really quick, because I think multiverse is stupid, and I think it's lazy. And I think it's nothing but a plot device to give you an excuse to do all sorts of stupid things that we would never accept them doing if it wasn't for a multiverse. And then they say, multiverse, that's the answer to everything. Multiverse and time travel. So I don't know. I certainly hope not. It is, of course, possible, but I really hope they immediately start working towards shutting this stupid multiverse thing down. Because to me, it's just lazy and it diminishes everything. Somebody appropriately, another pundit on YouTube said, and I really agree with them, the MCU has already got a credibility problem when it comes to consequences, right? The MCU already has some credibility issues when it comes to consequences in their movies. And multiverse just kind of completely eradicates consequences. Because what did the MCU do? Even with characters who couldn't be brought back with the snap because they weren't killed by the snap, they used time travel and multiverse just to bring the characters back anyway. Loki, anybody? Gamora, anybody? I got in this debate with somebody saying, John, they kept Gamora dead. No, they didn't, because Gamora's back. And don't give me this, but it's a different time, dimension, multiverse. No, it's Gamora. I don't care if she's from that timeline, it's Gamora. They made another excuse to undead somebody yet again. And they didn't just do it once. They did it with Loki too. They did it with Loki again. How many times has Loki died and come back from the dead? But John, it's not really the same Loki. No, it's Loki. Use whatever semantics you want. Bottom line is Gamora's back. Bottom line is Loki's back. And again, so they use this multi-timeline, multiverse kind of thing as just another excuse to bring back characters they killed. And what the guy said is true. Consequences are no longer a real thing in the MCU. So I really hope they just get rid of it. Now you can say to me, but John, Tony Stark, we lost Tony. Yeah, okay, after 22 films, one major character is gone. After 22 films and 100 characters and 5,000 deaths, one major character is gone. But the asterisk, of course, on the Tony Stark thing is he's going to be back, baby. He'll be back. Not this year, not next year, maybe not even in 3 years. But at some point, I don't care what Kevin Feige says. I don't care what the Russo brothers say. Remember, they said before Infinity War, oh no, the stakes are up now. People who die in Infinity War stay dead. Oh, well, yeah, so unsnap here. They're all back. It doesn't matter what anybody says. I guarantee you, Tony Stark will be back. In one form or another, he'll be back. And then, John, but John, they also killed Black Widow. Yeah, and we got a Black Widow movie coming out. And one way or the other, she'll be back. One way or the other, she'll be back. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year. One way or the other, she'll be back. Because that's what they do. Even when it's not the snap, they'll come up with other lame excuses to bring them back. They always bring them back. There are some secondary and minor characters that they have killed that don't come back, yes, but every time a major character dies, they always come back, with the exception, the one glowing exception, is Quicksilver. And I'm still half expecting him to come back. I'm still half expecting Aaron Taylor Johnson to be back at some point. So I don't know. We'll have to. So bottom line is, Kenneth, I really hope it isn't that, because I really want them to start closing this thing off. All right. Christopher Rampersad writes, and sends in a really generous super chat. Thank you so much for that, Christopher. Thank you. Wow, for keeping the show on the air. Thank you for supporting us on that level, man. That's really generous. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. All right. I saw John Wick 3, Toy Story 4, and for my 15th time saw Endgame. It was exhausting but awesome day. I love A-List. A-List is the best thing to ever happen to film fans, man. It's SummerSlam weekend. You are going back to Canada too. Oh, so that is SummerSlam weekend. Okay. Thank you, John. You are like a father. I'm you. You are too old for me to be your father. But anyway, you're like a father. I wish I could have. I wish I had you give great advice on. Oh no, sorry. Thank you, John. You are like a father I wish I had. You give great advice on movie and life. Well, I don't know if I give very good advice on life. I don't know if I give very good advice on life. And I don't know that I give advice on movies. I just give you my opinion on movies. And hopefully my opinion helps you sharpen your own opinion, whether it's the same as mine or totally the opposite of mine. So that's my goal, of course. And yes, I am heading back to Canada. It's going to be my first trip back to Canada other than Christmas time in like 9 years. In like 9 years. It's going to be my first trip back that wasn't Christmas time in like 9 years. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, Ann and Corey. Corey's coming with us. Our buddy Ryan's coming with us. They're going to be going to the big WWE pay-per-view event. I won't be going to the pay-per-view myself. I'm just going to use that time just to hang out with my family, because I only get to see them once a year usually. So I got to do that. But anyway, Christopher, thank you so much. And yes, again, A-List is the best thing ever. What a way to use it. A good triple feature like that. There you go. And again, Christopher, man, seriously, thank you so much for the support. And thank you for supporting the channel on that level, dude. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure all of the other viewers appreciate it as well. Thanks, dude. Hope you have a great day. All right. Let's move on here. Roman Bryant writes, I have a feeling Venom will team up with Spidey to battle the Sinister Six. It's my birthday, by the way. Oh, happy birthday, Roman. I hope you have a fabulous one, dude. Doing things you like and enjoy, you find relaxing, and I hope you have a great year ahead of you. I don't think so. I really don't. I think Sinister Six is a bad idea. And I think both Sony and Marvel will still probably be a little bit trigger shy when it comes to developing Sinister Six. I don't know this. I'm just speculating. I'm just speculating as a fan, okay? It went so south in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that I think they're worried there might still be a bit of a stench attached to it. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see that happens. You know, somebody floated the theory the other day that one of the post-credit scenes in Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be at an airport, and somebody walks off the plane and it's Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock going, it's good to be home. Because Kevin Feige did the other day say he thinks it's likely Venom and Spider-Man will eventually cross over, but he said it's up to Sony. It's up to Sony because Spider-Man and Venom are both Sony characters right now. But right now, I think I'd give that a good 7% chance that happens. That we'll see Tom Hardy in the post-credit scene. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I give it a 7% chance. The Big Thorbowski writes, did you know it's popular to hate Barney the dinosaur? Well, everything that's popular at one point, it becomes popular then to hate on it, right? Whether it's Avatar or whether it's Titanic or whether it's Barney the dinosaur or whatever, everything that's popular, it then becomes popular to also hate on it. So that's just life. Damian Davies writes, well, John wasn't exactly the boogeyman. He was the one you sent to kill the effing boogeyman. He is the Baba Yaga. God, I love John Wick. I got to go back and see part 3 again before it leaves theaters. It's just, Man, I mean, you don't normally just think of gun and fight action as something that you got to see on the big screen, but the cinematography of John Wick 3, Damien, is just so good that you just won't appreciate it as, look, I got a 75-inch 4K TV downstairs. That is still insignificant next to a real movie theater screen. That's insignificant. I hear these people going, oh, you can have home theaters now that are as good as movies. No, you can't. No, you don't. No, nothing replaces the real movie theater experience. And it's just John Wick 3 is just one of those ones I got to get back in and see it on the big screen one more time before it disappears. All right, Tucker Flynn writes, if you could get a Batman Arkham style series game for any villain, Marvel or DC, who would you choose? Sign me up for Loki game like yesterday. I don't know. I really don't care. As long as the game's good, that's all that matters. I don't care which character inhabits the game. So honest, like to me, that kind of feels a little bit more like which actor would you want to see in which role? Like I don't really think about it on that level. Whichever one they would do, I'm sure it would be great. And that's all that matters. As long as the game is great and the story is great, then it doesn't matter whether it's, I don't know, Deathstroke or whether it's, what's a good Doctor Doom. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. As long as the game's good and it's entertaining, put whatever character in there you want, and I'll be totally happy, Tucker. All right, Chris Feldman writes, Avatar got 34 weeks in theater. Will Endgame? No, because of this. See, here's the thing. People keep thinking as if, oh, it wasn't fair. I know this isn't you, Chris, but I keep hearing people whining online. But they gave Avatar so much time. No. Nobody gives anybody anything. The reason Avatar, and Titanic for that matter, but the reason Avatar, movies like Avatar, were in theaters that long is because people kept buying tickets. As long as people keep buying tickets, and by the way, it's not up to the studio, it's up to the movie theaters. And as long as people are still buying tickets to that movie, the theaters are more than happy to keep it in their theaters. Because if people are buying tickets to the movie, that means they're coming into the theater, that means they're buying popcorn, that means they're buying soda, and that's what the movie theaters are all about. So Avatar stayed in theaters that long because people kept buying the tickets. That's just not the way things work today. You know, we've talked about this many times that our movie-going culture today is more front-end loaded. More people go to see things opening weekend now than ever before. People don't wait 4 or 5 weeks, generally speaking, anymore to go and see a movie. It comes and then it dies out and then it goes. And we're seeing Endgame is in its final stages. It's going to be out of theaters relatively soon because nobody's going to go see it. And the movie theaters aren't going to let you keep Endgame on a screen when they can put another movie on that screen that's going to attract more people to their theater to buy popcorn and soda and all that kind of stuff. So no, Avatar didn't get given 34 weeks. It earned 34 weeks. Endgame will not, because it was more front-end loaded, like all movies are today. All movies today are much more front-end loaded, Endgame included. So no, I don't. Endgame will not make it to 34 weeks because it's already running out of steam. I mean, last time I checked, it was already dropped out of the top 12. Let me just double check here to make sure. Avengers Endgame. Let me just go to last weekend's. I'll go to last weekend's chart. So Endgame had dropped to 10th. After 8 weeks, making $3.7 million after 8 weeks. Do I think it's going to last another 26? No. It's after 8 weeks, it's down to $3.7 million. It's not going to last another 26 weeks. It's already down to number 10. It may stay in the top 10 this week because they're putting some stuff in after the credits now. But no, it's not going to make 16 weeks, let alone 34. Okay, Stubble McShave writes, Netflix petition for Good Omens was the best promotion this show that Amazon could have got. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. And you know what? I still haven't watched episode 2. I watched episode 1. I didn't think episode 1 was great. It was fine, though. I liked it, but it wasn't great. And let's put it this way. I thought it was pretty good, episode 1. But it wasn't good enough to make me jump up and hit play next. You know what I mean? So I still haven't seen episode 2. But people keep telling me that it's actually really solid, so I got to get back on that and give episode 2 and 3. But you're right, that was a really good promo push for it. Makes me wonder if it was almost staged. Ryan Lohner writes, the anime monster is not just my pick for greatest anime, but my number 3 greatest TV show behind The Wire and Breaking Bad. Really? I've never even heard of it. Just one problem. It's impossible to properly recommend the show because the ideal way to go in is knowing absolutely nothing of what's in it. I mean, that's fun to say, but with all the TV options out there, a lot of people, including me, aren't going to start watching a series if I don't know anything about it. I mean, that's just the reality of it. There's just too many other things to watch that we do know what it's about. And while you might be absolutely 100% correct on that, Ryan, you may be 100% correct. That puts them in a tough spot, like you're saying. It's a tricky thing because there's too many other entertainment options out there. Like, I'm way behind on tons of stuff that I know I want to watch. I'm way behind on tons of things I know I want to watch, and I know what those things are about, and I'm dying to see them, but I just haven't got caught up yet. So you're right, man. It is tricky. It is tricky. But there you go. Nice one. Okay. Let's see. Next one up here. Hold on a second. Why can I'm having a little bit of a stream issue. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I cannot get the questions to scroll. Why can I not get the questions to scroll? Give me a second. And maybe if I did that now, yes, now I can get the questions to scroll. All right. Wesley Cunningham writes, hey, John, seen Anna. Still haven't seen Anna yet, but I want to. If not, don't do it. With the sole exception of one scene, the directing through that entire movie might have given me malaria. Wow, Wesley. Wow. That's harsh. That's harsh. I know I've been dying to see Anna because I think the trailers look great. Yes, it looks a little bit like a John Wick ripoff, absolutely, but it still looks like a lot of fun. And I like Luke Evans and I like Cillian Murphy, and I still want to see it. I want to see this movie. But I had a choice the other night when I did a double feature. It's like I knew I was seeing Toy Story 4, but do I either see Child's Play or Anna? I decided for Child's Play, but I still want to go see Anna, but woo! Maybe I have to adjust my expectations, Wesley, because I was expecting something really good, but thank you for your input, dude. All right, Pool of Dead writes, the first time I heard No, I Am Your Father was actually Toy Story 2. I'm not surprised. I'm sure that's true for a lot of people, buddy. With Buzz and Emperor Zurg. First movie I ever saw. Seeing Toy Story 4 with my mom. Oh, that's fun. You know what's funny? This morning I realized, because, I just saw Toy Story 4 the other night. I remembered this morning the very first time I saw the first Toy Story. I was a lot younger, but me and my buddy Jeff went to the Seaway Mall in Welland, Ontario, and they had movie theaters in there. And we went in and watched the first Toy Story together. So I don't have my phone here. I'd show it to you. So I actually picked up my phone this morning. My buddy Jeff now lives in Nashville. And I texted him this morning saying, I just realized you and we saw it together for the first time. And it's like, what? It's like, yeah. So it's like a little bit crazy. It is so cool that it's hard to imagine. It's funny to think about how long the Toy Story franchise has actually been around. It has been around forever. And Toy Story 4 was such a great way to cap it off. Anyway, Josie C. Diaz writes, I saw Anna yesterday, another person who saw Anna, and oh my God, so many time jump back and forth and many twists. When there was new time jump / twist, everyone was like, oh my God, but it was interesting. So maybe that's what he was talking about earlier, saying just watching it gave me malaria. So it sounds like it's a little convoluted, a lot of twists with time jumps and stuff like that. Time jumping can be used really well. I'm not talking about time travel, but jumping back and forth to different points of the story through the movie. Like, it's called telling your story non-linearly. Non-linear storytelling can be really effective, but if you overdo it, it just becomes convoluted. So I don't know. I'm just going to have to go and see it, Josie, but thanks for the heads up on that. All right. Andres Martinez writes, thoughts on Rian Johnson's Looper 2012. Love it. Love Looper. I think that movie's brilliant. Last movie I think Bruce Willis was really good in. that he actually tried in. I thought Bruce Willis was great in that. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was great in it. Love that movie. I think it's terrific. Ben Rayner writes, better duo Cap and Tony or Woody and Buzz? Oh, Woody and Buzz. They don't fight to the death. So we're like Cap and Iron Man tried to do. So I will go Woody and Buzz. Damian Davies writes, have you seen The Queen starring Helen Mirren as Her Majesty Elizabeth II? I would like to see a prequel with Mirren going up against the Streep monster. I did see that movie. It got a lot of Oscars. It won some Oscars too, if I'm not mistaken. But that was, oh gosh, what, 8? I'm going to go, no, it was longer than 8 years ago. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. How many years? It might have been like 11 or 12 years ago. It was 13 years ago. 13 years ago. By the way, Helen Mirren hasn't aged a day since doing The Queen. Like, look at stuff of her in The Queen. And it's now 13 years later. This lady hasn't aged a day. Not a day since she's done that. So, The Queen was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Costume Design, and Best Score. And it won for Best Actress for Helen Mirren. So that was Helen Mirren's Academy Award winning performance. And it is crazy when you think she hasn't aged a frickin' day since she did that movie. Anyway, Jonathan Teft writes, maybe it's because I don't know the comics very well, but I really enjoyed X-Men Apocalypse. I think it gets the most unnecessary hate out of all the X-Men movies. I wish I could agree. Now look, to be fair, X-Men Apocalypse is its own standalone story. My all-time favorite comic book story is X-Men Age of Apocalypse. This isn't Age of Apocalypse. It's not the Age of Apocalypse story at all, other than the fact that they have Apocalypse. I just didn't think it was a good movie. I wanted to like it. I thought the Magneto scene in the woods after his wife and daughter die, oh my God. One of the best scenes ever in any X-Men movie was that scene. But that scene doesn't save the movie. The whole movie, I'm looking forward to this fight between Magneto and Apocalypse. The whole thing is just Magneto, Apocalypse, Magneto, Apocalypse. Cannot wait for this fight. This is going to be awesome. Blah. And the whole fight is literally both of them just doing this for 15 minutes. Magneto doing this while hurling metal at Apocalypse. Apocalypse doing this, blocking all of it, and that's all it was. Neither of them move. Like 15 minutes. That's the Apocalypse Magneto fight. And just, I thought it was just badly paced, but hey man, that's the beautiful thing about movies, Jonathan, is the subjectivity of it. And if you watched it and got more out of it than I did, that's great. That's awesome. I'm glad you got the enjoyment out of it that I wish I had gotten out of it too. So, yeah, anyway, I think, no, I'm not going to say that. Head-mouth filter. But I will, yeah, so unfortunately, it is one that I don't like. It is one of my least favorite X-Men films. I think X-Men Origins Wolverine might be the only X-Men film that I like less than Apocalypse, to be honest with you. But again, that's the beautiful thing about movies. You saw it, you had a different experience with it, and you enjoyed it, and that's awesome. All right, Chris Feldman writes, watching Pitch Meeting on YouTube reminds me of John Mulaney's comedy bit explaining Back to the Future. He's my current favorite comedian, yours. I really like John Mulaney, very much. But I'll tell you, my favorite comedian right now might be Joey Coy. You know, Ann and I just watched his newest Netflix special last night after we got back from our date night. And Ann loves him because he's Filipino, right? So he's Filipino, all his Filipino jokes, and oh my God, every time he makes jokes about his mom, and Joey Coy's best jokes are about his Filipino mom, I just howl because that's my mother-in-law completely. Like he always describes, I'm telling you, man, every Filipino mom, short hair, glasses, Louis Vuitton purse. I'm like, oh my God, that's my mother-in-law. It's crazy. And Anne was like literally in tears. And so we watched this new special of his last night, and it was absolutely great. So I adore John Mulaney. Love him. His most recent Netflix special was fantastic. But I think I might give the nod right now to Joey Coy. That dude is That dude is crazy great. I love him. All right. Anyway, let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, why didn't Warner Brothers choose Bruce Timm as their Kevin Feige? Why should they? I know, no, that's the better question. Whenever somebody says, why didn't so-and-so get this? Or why did such and such a studio not cast this person? Or why did such and such a studio not get this person to be their director? And so on and so on and so forth. The question that I would then want to ask is, why the hell would they? Why the hell would they? I mean, honestly, why would you get Bruce Timm, who has no experience at all with live action movie stuff? At all. That would be a horrible decision. And quite frankly, I think most of DC's animated stuff sucks. And I also think most of Marvel's animated stuff sucks too. But like, why would you get him? Why would you get a guy who does cartoons, which is totally different stuff than live action stuff, and is a totally different process than live action? Why on earth would they get Bruce Timm to lead their live action cinematic universe when the guy doesn't know squat about live action production? I mean, that would have been, in my opinion, a horrible decision. Plus, I mean, my thing is kind of tainted by the fact that, like, let's go through his last number of stuff. Batman Gotham by Gaslight. I finally checked that out last year. Terrible. Batman Killing Joke. Terrible. Justice League Gods and Monsters. Terrible. Anyway, I just don't... no way should Bruce Timm have been that guy. No way. No way. The Megan Young Show writes, have you seen Russian Doll? No, I haven't. But Ashley Whalen kept telling me I needed to watch that show. She kept telling me I have to watch this Russian Doll show. And so I know nothing about it, except for every once in a while, Megan, somebody, whether it's you or Ashley or somebody else, will just bring up, oh my God, have you seen Russian Doll? I'm like, hell no, I still don't know what it is. So I'm apparently that's one I got to add to my list as well. Jonathan Teft writes, one of two. I've heard it rumored that Fox was originally planning to have at least 2 more X-Men movies after Dark Phoenix, with the last one taking place in the year of the future part of Days of Future Past. If this is true, I'm kind of sad we won't be getting it now. I doubt that that's true, because I think before the Fox takeover, before Disney took over Disney, I don't think Fox had any planned end to their X-Men universe. I think their goal and their plan was to just keep it going forever. So number one, I would have no doubt that they had 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 other films maybe on the burner that they could do. But they're so continuity schmontinuity, I doubt that one of them would have been in the same year as the future part of Days of Future Past. So I doubt that that's true. I don't know that it isn't true. I'm just speculating. But number one, I'm sure they had multiple films in at least the concept stage for what their X-Men universe is going to be, because they had no plans of stopping it. They were just going to keep that thing going. Because if they didn't keep it going, the rights would have then just eventually lapsed back to Marvel. So they were going to keep things going. So anyway, that's what I think. All right. Jonathan follows up with, I'm with Ryan Lohner, 100% Monster is an awesome anime. And I've never even heard of it. I've never even heard of it. The only Monster I know is the Charlize Theron Academy Award winning film that she won an award for. That was Monster, right? Oh, let me just double check and make sure of that. Monster, yeah, Charlize Theron, the 2003 film that won Charlize Theron her Best Actress award. Other than that, I have no idea. Let me just see what happens if I look up Monster on IMDb. Monster House, Monster Squad, Monster Island. I don't even see anything on IMDb about it. There's a Monster Calls. I don't know if that's the same thing, but yeah, but I've never even heard of this thing. Now I got multiple of you guys telling me that the show's great. I got to keep my eyes open for it. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, I want Chad Stahelski to direct a Mission Impossible movie. Yeah, well, look, again, the same thing is for me with actresses, with directors. I'm sure there's lots of directors who do a great job. Chad Stahelski is a great, wonderful, fun director. If they announced tomorrow he was doing it, I'd be totally down for it. I don't think he's the next guy who needs to do it, but if he did do it, I'd be with you. I think he would do a wonderful job with that. I'm Upset writes, love both, but what's better, Spider-Verse or Toy Story 4? Ooh. Oh my God. Well, I'm going to go Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But you got to understand that I liked Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I think, more than most people did. Because I ranked it as the number 3 best film of 2018. Only behind A Quiet Place and BlacKkKlansman. Quiet Place number 1, BlacKkKlansman number 2. I put Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as my number 3 best film of the year. Right now, Toy Story 4 is in my top 2 best films of this year, but I highly doubt it's still going to be in my top 3 by the time we get to the end of the year, especially with all the real high quality films, the Oscar contending films, that's all still to come out. But right now, I'd say it's close, and they are very different movies. They're very, very different movies from each other, but I would give the slight edge to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but that's just because I'm bonkers for that movie. Let's see. Nathan Oswald writes, is it fair to say that Twilight ruined vampire and werewolf movies? No, not at all. What vampire movies were happening when Twilight came out? What great werewolf movies were happening when Twilight came out? None. It's not like the vampire thing was a thriving genre, and the werewolf thing was a thriving genre, but they weren't. So no, I do not think Twilight at all ruined anything vampire or werewolf movie related. I really don't. Jared McBride writes, Garth Brooks is coming to my hometown of Boise, Idaho on July 20th. I'm so excited. My sister got 4 tickets, so us and 2 other family members are going to the concert. It's always great when you can go to a concert of a musician you love. I am clearly not a Garth Brooks guy because I am not a country music guy by any stretch of the imagination. But when you get tickets to go see one of your favorite performers, that's always a special thing. And what makes it even more special is when you get to go with family and other people who also really appreciate that performer. So that's great. I just got tickets to go finally see the Hugh Jackman one-man stage show. So actually, I already had tickets to see Hugh Jackman do a stage show at the Hollywood Bowl, but then we realized that show happens on the same week as Comic-Con, and we're going to be in San Diego. So we found another date that he's performing at another venue the day before Comic-Con starts, so we're going to go see that. He's performing at this place called Pachanga. And so he's playing at Pachanga, then he's going to go and play in the Hollywood Bowl. We had tickets for the Hollywood Bowl, had to give them up because we're going to be at Comic-Con, and now we're going to go see him in Pachanga, and I'm very, very excited about that. So I hope you and your family, Jared, I hope you guys have a fabulous time at that show, man. All right, Chris Feldman writes, think the NBA title keeps Kawhi in Toronto? No, if anything, it's actually the opposite. He won the title there. What's left for him to do there? I think Kawhi Leonard's coming to LA. Whether it's the Clippers or whether it's the Lakers, either one, this is home for him. This is where he grew up. I think he wants to come home. Hey, look, and as a Toronto fan, what can I say but thank you, Kawhi. You came for 1 year and you took us. I mean, you were a big, I mean, everybody played a role, but you were a big part in us getting that NBA title. And we can't ask any more of you. So, look, do I hope Kawhi stays in Toronto? Obviously. But am I going to be at all sour if he doesn't? Nope. Thank you, Kawhi. Thank you, sir, for doing what you did. And if you decide that you want to go home now, who are we to stand in your way? You go home. You go home. You've played away from home for a lot of years. And if he wants to go home now, and I think he will. So, no, I think if anything, it's the opposite. I think maybe if they had lost in 7 games, he might feel like he's got some unfinished business in Toronto. But because they won, I don't know what the motivation is to stay now. Other than the fact that he's king. He's the king of the North right now. I mean, I was the king of the North, but I mean, I guess Kawhi is the king of the North now. He's king in the North. So there's that, but I think he wants to go home. And he's going to be lauded, and he's going to be a hero wherever he goes. So, but yeah, I think he's going back. Matt Brown writes, working on a TV show concept I've had since I was 12. Nice. Getting the Neil Gaiman masterclass next week to keep my ideas writing sharp until the fall semester. See, that's the cool thing, Matt. Everybody sits around and waits. They say, I want to write something. They say, I want to write a book, or I want to write a screenplay, or I want to make a movie, or I want to paint this, or I'm going to do that. But they never do anything about it. You're doing it. That's the key. So when people ask me, John, how do I do it? Well, just start doing something today. I'll ask them, what did you do today to make that happen? Nothing? Well, then do something. Write something today. Even if it's crap. And it's probably going to be crap, but who cares? Start writing something. The biggest obstacle is always getting started. And if you're actually doing that, Matt, good on you, sir, because you're way ahead of most people just by doing something. All right. Willow Yang writes, Toy Story 4 now has a measly 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Disney has run the franchise into the ground. They don't care about quality anymore, just money. I know, it's great. Think about this. Think about this. And I don't know, let me just double check. Now, I haven't put up my Toy Story 4 review on Rotten Tomatoes yet. I still need, because I'm one of the reviewers who's counted on Rotten Tomatoes now, so I got to submit mine still. But Toy Story 4, Rotten Tomatoes, and it is right now, yep, it is sitting at a pathetic, measly, series franchise worst 97% right now. Forky, what do you think about that? Oh, that's too bad. We deserve at least a 99. I agree, Forky. You're completely right about that. The wisdom of Forky, ladies and gentlemen. I should start a new segment on my show every day just called The Wisdom of Forky. Anyway, think about that. A film franchise with 4 major wide release films in it, and the worst critically rated one, the worst, is a 97%. 97%. That's the worst out of all the Toy Story movies. Wrap your heads around that. That's kind of crazy. Totally crazy. All right, Colby Harris writes, just moved in my first apartment on my own. Dude, I still remember the first time I moved out on my own. It was thrilling and terrifying at the same time. I'll bet you dollars to dimes you're already planning on when you got to go back to mom and dad's to do your laundry, because I know I did that for the first little while. I would have to go back to the house to do my laundry. Hell, for a few years of me and Ann living in Burbank, the apartment, the first 6 years that Ann and I lived in Burbank, we lived in this apartment that we just moved out of last April into this new place. You guys remember when I moved into this new place. But the place that we had lived in for 6 years, this 2-bedroom apartment, it didn't have laundry in the apartment. There was laundry on the back side of the building, but we hated, because I hated having to go and just leave my laundry there and come back up to my apartment. I didn't like that. So for 6 years, Ann and I, we would go back to Riverside, Corona in Riverside, California, where Ann's mom lives. And we were doing that anyway to go visit on the weekends, but we would always lug our laundry with us. We would always take our laundry with us. For 6 years, we did that. Now, the new place we moved into, fortunately, has a laundry, has a washer and dryer in the place. So that's great. We're really grown up now. But, oh my God, and I remember this too. One of the cool things though is, you know, moms love feeling like their kids still need them. And we do. We always need our moms. Of course we do. I still need mine. But moms love being able to be a mother to their kids, right? So here's what would happen. True story. We would go, Ann and I would go back to Corona Riverside for the weekend. We'd bring our laundry with us. And we would usually have 3 or 4 loads, and we'd just pile the big load into the dryer before going to bed. Well, what would happen is Ann's mom gets up at 4 in the morning. And we would come downstairs in the morning, and she had already gotten all of our laundry out of the dryer and folded it all completely neatly, and it was all ready to go. And that's the one part of laundry I hate the most, is folding. A little secret about John Campea. Here you go. You want to know want some TMI on John Campea? Here it is. I don't fold my laundry. I don't. It makes Ann agog and aghast. But Ann folds underwear. I don't. What I do is, after I pull all my laundry, I don't know why I'm talking about this right now. Nobody cares about this, John. I don't care. I'm going to finish the story anyway. So what I do is, when my laundry is done in the dryer, I just pull it all out of the dryer back into my laundry hamper. Take the laundry hamper into my room, and I start taking, all my black t-shirts, just throw them over there. All my button-up shirts, I immediately hang my button-up shirts because they just come out of the dryer. All that hot air is on it. They're in as good a shape as they're going to be, and I just hang my shirts right away. As soon as they're out of the dryer, I just hang them because I don't fold anything, and I don't iron anything. So I throw all my t-shirts over there. I throw all my underwear and socks over there, and then when it's all separated, I just use both arms, gather up my underwear and socks, go over to my drawer, open my drawer, and just dump them in my drawer. And I do the same thing with my t-shirts. I just gather up. Now, I'll do a simple one fold over but I don't properly fold my t-shirts. And the only reason I do a one fold over is just so they'll actually all fit in my drawer. And I just drop them in my drawer, and that's it. I don't fold laundry. So a little bit of TMI that none of you cared about or even asked about. But anyway, Matt Brown writes, thanks for everything you do, John. Well, thank you, Matt, for being part of it. And I love doing this. I love that we have this film fan community together, and I love talking stuff. So thank you for being here and supporting the channel, man. I appreciate it. Dangerous Lee writes, at 2 hours, Blade Runner is a chore for me to sit through, but Blade Runner 2049 is nearly 3 hours and it breezes by. Love the show and the community you've built. Well, thank you so much for that, Dangerous Lee. And look, you and me, buddy, I acknowledge Blade Runner, the original, is an all-time sci-fi classic. I acknowledge that Blade Runner is one of the most beloved films of all time. I acknowledge all of that, but it doesn't change the fact that I don't like it. I don't hate it, but I just don't like it, and I've tried several times to rewatch it, and it's just like, I just don't find this movie that good. It's got some great moments, but not that good. I'm with you, man. I vastly prefer Blade Runner 2049. For whatever reason, I love that movie. That flopped terribly. But I love that movie, man. So you and me are on the same page as that, dude. All right, Andres Martinez writes, Batman 1989 turned 30 years old. This you did. Saw the 4K version, and it's amazing with its detail and picture quality. You know, Rob's been talking about that with the 4K thing for Batman, and it is crazy to think about it being 30. But I guess, you know, I remember I was much younger. Me and my buddy Brendan, you know, I've told the story, my buddy who passed away 2 years ago. But me and my buddy Brendan, much younger, went down to the Jackson Square in Hamilton, Ontario, went downtown to Jackson Square where they had a little movie theater in there. And the lineup went all the way outside of the mall doors, down the sidewalk, all that kind of stuff. And we went to go see the first Batman movie. Never forget that. 30 years ago. Oh my God. Factual Opinion writes, when is it okay to say a movie is overrated? Anytime. Anytime. Remember, saying a movie is overrated is simply your personal expression of an opinion. And all it means is that I believe that a certain movie that a lot of people love isn't as good as a lot of people think. That's all it is. So we all have, look, you can say any movie you think is overrated. Look, if you don't like Endgame all that much, you can say that you believe Endgame is overrated. Because to you, the movie isn't quite as good as the way most other people seem to think it is. But that's always I think, look, a lot of times people think saying a movie is overrated means you're saying that the movie is bad. That's not true. There are some movies I personally find overrated that I still think are good movies. It's just that there are movies like, for instance, I'll put myself in the firing line right now. Big Lebowski, overrated. I think, but so somebody might hear me say that. It's like, you don't like the Big Lebowski? Oh no, I like it. I do. I think it's a good movie. But then why are you saying it's overrated? Because I don't think it's one of the all-time greats, the way a lot of people feel like The Big Lebowski is one of the all-time greatest classic movies ever. I think that's overdoing it, but that's just my opinion. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying in my opinion, it's overrated, but that's not saying that I don't like the movie, right? So it's always okay to say a movie is overrated. Here's when it's not okay to say a movie's overrated. If people don't like the movie. If generally speaking, people don't like a movie, you can't say it's overrated. That's impossible. Overrated is usually a movie that the vast majority of people highly, highly praise, but you happen to think maybe it's getting a little bit of overpraise. Whether that means you like the movie or don't like the movie is irrelevant. You just think it's getting more credit than it deserves. So at any time, it's just an expression of personal opinion. So anytime it's fine to say you think a movie is overrated. All right. Jordan's channel writes, do you think Zack Snyder has a copy of all the original Justice League scenes he shot on his computer? He could release them at any time. I don't see why he wouldn't. I mean, maybe he doesn't, but I don't see why he wouldn't. Now, of course, he can't release them at any time because he doesn't own that footage. He doesn't have the rights to that footage. And if he did release it, he would get sued into the prehistoric age. And his life would be ruined. So there's that. But I believe he's got all the stuff. Yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't. I don't see why he wouldn't. I mean, it's possible he doesn't, but I think he probably does on some way or form, some level. Lone Wolf X6 writes, Thor, who the hell are you guys? We are the Winchester brothers, supernatural reference, and we're here to help. Smirks. Thor, I like these guys. God, that would be pretty fun. to see Thor. I mean, completely different universes would never happen. But I would be lying. I would be lying, Lone Wolf, if I didn't admit that if all of a sudden Chris Hemsworth as Thor, the God of Thunder, showed up in an episode of Supernatural, that I wouldn't have a giant freaking grin on my face. I'd be a blithering idiot. I'd be laughing so hard. All right. The Hero writes, "Hey, John, I hate to be that guy with the amount you have lined up, but did you check out NOS 4A2 yet?" Nope. I still haven't checked it out. I still don't even know what it is off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Wait a second. Let me pull it open here. NOS 4A2. What is NOS 4A2? It is it's a series. It's a TV series. On what? I have no idea on what. But no, I haven't checked it out. I haven't seen it. I'll be honest with you. It's probably going to be a while before I do because I just got too much other stuff lined up, man. So no, I have not seen that yet. All right. JB Bonifacio writes, "If we focus solely on initial runs, Endgame as of now is 2.749 billion. By comparison, Avatar made only 2.74906 in its initial run." Yeah, that's true. But again, here's the thing though. If you look at how much money did Avengers Endgame make in week 8 versus how much money Avatar made in week 8, I guarantee you Avatar made a lot more money in its 8th week than Endgame did. Again, that's just an example of today, movies are more front-end loaded today than in the past. People just go see it initially before it's been out in theaters for 2 or 3 weeks. The vast majority of people see these movies. The vast majority of people see movies that they want to see within the first week or two now. And most of them see it opening weekend. It wasn't quite like that before. So that's why you're seeing opening weekend box office records get shattered left and right now, because more and more people go opening weekend. But they're not having the longevity that films like Avatar or Titanic or things like that had, because people didn't feel the need back then to go rush out and see those films immediately. They saw them a little bit later. So so it doesn't work. Look, bottom line is this. Endgame is behind Avatar, period. That's it. Now, we can get all the butt birds come out, but this and but that, who cares? Bottom line, Avatar is still ahead of Endgame. Period. That's it. Keep your butts to yourself. But bottom line, Avatar is ahead of Endgame. You can play but it got a re-release. Okay, yeah. But then somebody else could say, but it was a true standalone movie. Avengers Endgame was the 22nd film that had 21 films building up to it over the course of 11 years with like 22 major Hollywood stars in it. You could play that game. I don't like to play either of those games. Bottom line, Avatar beats Endgame. As of right now, that could change. And when it does, I don't want to hear from the butt birds about Avatar. I don't want to hear, but inflation, but this, but I don't want to hear it. Bottom line, if Endgame passes Avatar, the bottom line will be Endgame passed Avatar, period. I don't want to hear any of the buts. If it doesn't pass it, then Avatar beat Endgame. I don't want to hear any of the buts. Bottom line is bottom line. That's all I care about. But that's a really good figure, JB, to point out again the difference. That in week 8, Avatar is making a lot more money in its week 8 than Endgame is, but Endgame made way more money in its opening week than something like an Avatar did. I mean, it's a really good example of the movie-going habits and the trends of moviegoers has changed over the past 10 whatever years. That is now a lot more front-end loaded. Okay. Rob J00 writes, "Hey John, me and my wife Kelly, we love watching you every day." Oh, thank you so much, Rob, and your wife Kelly. We would like to know, do you sell any merchandise? Thank you, and keep up the amazing work. Well, as a matter of fact, we do, and depending on what you're watching this on right now, if you're watching this on a mobile device, you'll see right below this video a little merchandise shelf that has like some John Campea Show t-shirts, coffee mugs, some Bring on the Filthy shirts, things like that. If not, then they're at Teespring. Let me see if I can bring up the, Teespring. Where you can find it, if you can't see the merchandising shelf under the video, what you'll want to do is go to teespring.com/stores/the-John-Campea-show. I know that sounds laborious, but it is the John Campea Show. Let me see if I can maybe bring this up on the thing here. 1 second. Let me open this up. See if I can add a text layer. I don't know if I can on the fly. I'm going to try this. So, media file network, screen capture, overlay, text. I'm going to add new text. My new text is going to be, sorry guys that I'm putting you all through this. Let's see, where's the actual text? Okay, there's the text. And I'm going to shrink it up. And I'm going to change color. Nobody cares, John. Nobody cares. Why are you wasting so much time? Man, how do I change the color of the text? Text color. There we go. I'm going to make it bright orange, I guess. Here we go. Okay, bright orange. Okay, now I'm going to bring it up. And I'm going to lower it to, or I'm going to take it to near the top of the screen there, and I'm going to hit that, and there we go. Okay, so there it is, guys. If you cannot see the merchandising shelf below, you can just go to teespring.com/stores/the John Campea Show with dashes between each word, and that should bring you theoretically to the page, and maybe I can even bring up the page. Hold on a second here. Where's my text layer? And there's my text layer. I'm going to turn that off now. Okay, so let me see if I can open this up here. Here is an example of, yeah, there's the store there. So we've got a bunch of things on there, including mugs, t-shirts, a few other things like that. So that's where you can go and get that stuff and find that stuff. And thank you so much, Rob, for giving me an excuse to plug the merchandising stuff. Thank you. I hope you and Kelly have a wonderful day. All right. Now that I wasted all that time, Chris Feldman writes, ever watch a movie so bad you couldn't finish it? Yes. I believe there are 4 movies in my life that I've walked out of. 4 movies that I've walked out of in my life. Maybe only 3. No, I think it was 4. One of them was the Johnny Knoxville movie, The Ringer, which I understand they meant well, but I found it very, very offensive, even though I know they didn't mean to be, and I know they meant well. But to me, it just came across like they were just making fun of people with handicaps, even though I know what they were going for, and I respected that, but I was just very uncomfortable with it because I don't think they executed it well, and it felt like they were just mocking people with handicaps, and that was very uncomfortable for me, so I left. The Jennifer Connelly film, Dark Water, couldn't take it. It was so bad, I just had to walk out. The movie 23, which is that movie that had like a whole ton of just short sketches in it, so abysmal. I don't think I made it past 20 something minutes and I walked out. And then, I think there was a 4th. I can't remember the 4th off the top of my head, but yep, it's happened to me, Chris. It has happened to me. All right, Steve James writes, regarding favorite John Williams scores, my pick has to be E.T., especially the last 15 minutes of the movie never fails to bring me chills. That is great. And as a matter of fact, you know how every year I go to the John Williams concert at the Hollywood Bowl. Every year, John Williams with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, he plays a concert at the Hollywood Bowl, and Ann and I go every year. And this one year, what they did was they played like the last 10 or 15 minutes of E.T. on the big screen with all the sound except the music. They stripped the music track out of it. And then John Williams and the orchestra played the music along with the movie for the last 10 or 15 minutes of E.T. One of the best things he's ever done at his annual concert series. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. One of the other great things that they did was last year, Steven Spielberg came out as a special guest, which I almost cried. Steven Spielberg is my favorite all-time filmmaker, and he's one of the only guys in this business. There are only 2 people in this business I've always wanted to meet and interview that I haven't had a chance to do. One is Tom Hanks, which is really more for my wife, Anne. And again, one of these days, you have to understand, Tom Hanks is Anne's favorite human being on the earth. And as a husband, even if it ends my career, I want to give my wife the opportunity to meet Tom Hanks someday. She you just bring up a picture of Tom Hanks and she almost cries. She loves Tom Hanks so much. One of the reasons she took the job at Hasbro was because Tom Hanks in Big, her all-time favorite movie, worked in a toy company. That's why she took the job at Hasbro. I'm not kidding. Someday, I said this before, I'm going to share it again. Someday, maybe soon, I'm going to do a totally unprofessional, totally, Bush League, underhanded, kind of a slimy thing to do, but I'm going to do it because I love my wife and I want her to have this experience. And I'm going to ask you guys to help me. And one of these days, I'm going to get on here. I'm going to give you Tom Hanks's Twitter handle. I'm going to say, guys, over the next 48 hours, can you all Twitter blast? It's spamming. I shouldn't do it. It's unprofessional. It's bad. I'm admitting that right now. Don't tell me, John, you shouldn't be doing that. I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to ask you guys to help me. And even if it ends my career, if Tom Hanks, so I'm going to ask you guys to Twitter blast Tom Hanks, say, Tom Hanks, hey, listen, one of my favorite YouTube movie guys, John Campea, his wife is like your all-time, no questions asked, biggest fan in the world. She's met every celebrity except her all-time favorite, which is you. Can you get in touch with John Campea, or can you let John Campea get in touch with you? But I'm going to ask you guys to help me with that. Totally Bush League, totally unprofessional. I shouldn't do it. It's horrible. I would say it's really bad of anybody else to do it. We're going to be spamming Tom Hanks, but I'm going to ask you to do it. And if Tom Hanks were to reply to me and say, I'll tell you what, Campea, I'll set up a meet so I can meet your wife, but you have to give up your job and you have to give up your show and you have to give up what you're doing. I'll go, okay. I'm not lying. I'm serious. I would do that. I would say, okay. Because my job in life is to try to make my wife as happy as possible. That's what I see my job in life being. And if I could give my wife the opportunity to meet Tom Hanks, that would be it. That would be it. I would have completed my job. I'll feel, yep, I'm good. I don't know what I'll do to earn money now. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do something. I don't know. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. The two people I haven't been able to meet and introduce is Tom Hanks, and one is Steven Spielberg, who I would just die. I've met Steven Spielberg's mom. Steven Spielberg's mom actually served me lunch once, but I never met Steven Spielberg. So Steven Spielberg comes out on stage at this John Williams concert, and I almost like Anne looked at me. I had tears welling in my eyes. I almost cried just because there's Steven Spielberg on stage. I couldn't believe, I almost cried. And it was one of the best things they ever did was he came out and he said, just to give you an idea of how magical the music of John Williams is, let's watch the first 8 minutes of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Remember when Indiana Jones was younger and he stole that artifact from those artifact thieves? Remember that? And he's running away from them. He goes, let's watch the first 7 or 8 minutes of this movie without John Williams music. Roll it. And then they played the opening 7 or 8 minutes without the music, and it's such a different experience. It's like not good. And anyway, the clip ends, the lights come back up, and Steven Spielberg's like, that's awful, wasn't it? Like, that was really awful. I remember looking at that and going, oh my God, this is awful. And then talking to John Williams, talking to Johnny and saying, save this movie, Johnny. And then John Williams put in his music, and now here's what it looks like. And then they played the clip again, but with the music, and it totally transforms the entire experience. It was such a cool thing that they did. But anyway, the E.T. thing is one of the things they did. So yes, absolutely, Steve. Magical, magical, magical. All right. Baby Boy 8603 writes, saw Child's Play and Shaft. Both were enjoyable. I enjoyed Shaft. It's not very good, but I enjoyed it. If here's the best ever, here's the worst ever, right in the middle is the tipping point between enjoying and not enjoying it. I'd say I'm just about there. I enjoyed Shaft. Again, it's not a very good movie, but I did enjoy it. Child's Play I thought was really terrible, but with some very funny moments. And not just one or two. Like a good 7 or 8 times in that movie, I laughed really hard. The humor in the movie really works. Thank you, Mark Hamill. The humor in the movie with Mark Hamill doing the voice and everything worked so well that even though the movie is quite bad, I didn't hate myself for watching the movie. I still don't recommend Child's Play. I still don't think it was very good overall, but it's one of those movies that I don't like, but that I would say, but I can see why other people would, because there is some really good humor in it. Some really good humor. So I'm glad you saw it, baby boy, and I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. All right. Oops. Sorry. Took a bit of a jump there. Where are we at? Okay, here we are. Django 19 writes, saw Toy Story 4 and loved it. It's the first one I've seen in theaters, and I had to go to IMAX. The first two I saw were on VHS as a kid and caught the third on DVD. First of all, that's great. You know what? I actually saw Toy Story 4 on IMAX as well. That was my first viewing experience for Toy Story 4 was on IMAX. What a beautiful, gorgeous thing. Going back to the other question that came earlier about how advanced and how far they've come and photorealistic and how just aesthetically beautiful the film is. And so seeing that on IMAX was a pretty damn good experience. I would have preferred to have seen it on the AMC Prime screen, but it was sold out. So we went into the IMAX screen and it was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So that's a cool way to go in there and seeing it. And that is really awesome. That was your first time seeing a Toy Story film on the big screen at the same time. Thank you for sharing that, Django, man. That's really cool. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, Abrams' Star Trek is 10 years. Abrams' Star Trek is 10 years old. Somehow that makes me feel older than Batman being 30. No, I agree. You know why? Here's why. Because when I saw Batman, I was a kid. When I saw J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, I was a man. That was 10 years ago. See, the Batman movie feels like forever ago. J.J. Abrams that Star Trek still feels like it was made 4 or 5 years ago. That was a decade old now. I'm with you, Ryan. That does make me feel older than the Batman thing. I think you're absolutely right about that. All right, J Meister 25 writes, my favorite band ever is Jamiroquai. What's yours? Easy, U2. And there's I like a lot of different kind of music. But U2, which is not necessarily reflective of my overall musical tastes, I just find U2 to be the best band of all time. So that's my favorite. Django writes, can you go to a Super Bowl or one game of Stanley Cup? Oh, I go to a game of the Stanley Cup. Yeah, for sure. Don't get me wrong. I love football. I love the NFL. I love the Super Bowl. But if I had a choice to go to a Super Bowl or one game of a Stanley Cup game, if my Toronto Maple Leafs are in it, I'll take the one game of the Stanley Cup. If it's a game one, because Stanley Cup is out of 7 games. If it's a game one between two teams that aren't my favorite or the Super Bowl, then I probably do the Super Bowl. But all other things being equal, I go for the Stanley Cup game. Hector Jeter writes, John, have you already pre-ordered your digital copy of Endgame yet? Hurry up before those digital copies get all sold out. LOL, have a great day. Yeah, this thing, I never pre-order anything. And honestly, you want to know what? That is one of the things that has saved my bank account with Hot Toys. Because I'll tell you right now, my willpower is pretty weak. So if like the new Mysterio Hot Toy came out and it was available today and I could order it and have it on my shelf in 2 days, I'd probably buy it. If I could have bought at the time when Infinity War is coming out, that Thanos Hot Toy, if I could have bought that and had it on my shelf 2 days later, I would have bought it. The fact that you have these new Hot Toys come out and you have to pre-order them and they'll be available in like 7 months, I don't pre-order anything. All right, I don't pre-order anything. So that has saved me from buying a lot of Hot Toys and emptying out my bank account. So, no, I have not, but you're right. It is funny. I do not understand why anybody pre-orders digital copies. I don't understand that. I really don't. Like, it's not like they're going to run out. You're okay. Anyway, because that's part of the thing, right? While supplies last. Well, supplies are going to last. It's digital. Frankie Gouch writes, Fleabag is a must-watch, new and refreshing. Dude, the number keeps growing, Frankie, of the amount of people telling me to watch Fleabag. That is probably going to be right up there. on my list that I got to see soon because it is a short series. So, but everybody's raving. You're like the fifth or sixth person on my show to jump on and say, John, you got to watch Fleabag. So I will get on Fleabag. Nathan Oswald writes, sisters, Haley, we're twins. I don't know what that's from. You got me. Victor Gonzalez sends in a couple super chats. Thank you, Victor. Chris M writes, the space thriller subgenre is one of my favorites. Curious to know your top picks. For me, Interstellar, Apollo 13, and The Martian are my top three. I'm pumped for Ad Astra. I'm pumped for Ad Astra as well. Love the channel, but thank you so much, Chris. I gotta admit, I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Interstellar. I like Interstellar. I think it's a good movie. But it's actually one of my least favorite Christopher Nolan films. Apollo 13, marvelous. And it's amazing that you brought up The Martian, because I watched The Martian again just last weekend. I was at my family's place, Anne's mother's place, and Ray had The Martian on, and before I realized it, I was completely engrossed in it again. The Martian is so good. It's so good. I mean, that movie is kind of like Man of Steel to me. It's better every time I see it. Every time I watch a movie, I just cannot believe. A movie where a guy is basically, a lot of the movie is the guy alone on a planet by himself. And it is so freaking compelling. It's so compelling. I mean, I'm the smartest guy on the planet. Well, there you go. It's nuts. And at the end, he goes, I'm going to Iron Man it, Commander. I mean, that's just the lines in it, the drama of it, the tension of it. It's so well done. I just love that one, dude. That's got to be high up there too. And I am with you. I'm really excited about Ad Astra. I was curious about it, and then the trailer came out. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. I want to see this. This looks really good. So I'm excited about all that stuff, man. All right. Run Amok Design writes, dang, just saw Endgame for the 5th time before the announcement. Ever notice any minor things upon further viewings? I just noticed Nat's ballerina shoes on a chair in her scene talking to Steve. No, I didn't notice that. That is cool. I mean, Endgame is such a heavily condensed film that, yeah, I gotta say, I saw it 4 times in theaters, and right up until the 4th time, I saw something new that I didn't notice before. The movie's filled with that stuff. And so, again, I haven't seen it for a 5th time. I think the 5th time I watch it will be when I watch it at home. But yeah, every time I saw it in theaters, absolutely Run Amok. There was just jam-packed, and that is one I never saw. So the next time I see this movie, I'm going to have to keep an eye open for that, because that's a pretty cool little throwback to what we know about Nat from her previous stuff from Age of Ultron. That's a really, really cool little Easter egg if they planted that in there. I'll have to keep my eyes open. Thank you for sharing that with us, man. I appreciate that. All right. Jeff Newbaum writes, why don't movie studio execs hire critics to consult their movies? Funny how some movies all have the same criticisms, i.e. too long, story holes, etc. Wouldn't this help resolve these problems? Well, here's the problem with that, Jeff. Here's the problem. And by the way, a big studio in town, I was once hired to consult. This is going back years ago, but I was once hired to consult with a major studio in town on stuff like that. But here's the problem with the overall premise, right? What movie critics do you get to consult with? Because contrary to popular belief, every movie critic is vastly different from the next movie critic, right? So like A.O. Scott at I believe it's with the Boston Globe. Is that what it is? Boston Globe? Is that the name of the paper? A.O.'s? Anyway, Scott is a vastly different film critic from, say, a Christian Harloff, who is a Rotten Tomatoes registered film critic. Leonard Maltin, one of the all-time greats, one of the GOATs, Leonard Maltin is a vastly different tastes and opinions and whatever from me. I'm a Rotten Tomatoes film critic. There is this total misconception out there that film critics are all kind of the same. They're like the Borg. They're a hive mind. They all think alike. Film critics are so crazy different from each other, with such wildly different opinions and wildly different tastes and wildly different predispositions, that when you say, why doesn't a studio hire critics? Well, then which critics do you get? You know? And I wouldn't be surprised if some studios every once in a while do bring in a film critic. I wouldn't be at all surprised if some big time screenwriters might have a friend who's a film critic and go, could you give this a read over, sign a non-disclosure agreement, but can you give this a read over and give me your thoughts? Because I want a third perspective. I want an outside perspective. I want a fresh set of eyes. I'm sure that does happen. I've done it. So I'm sure that does happen. And continues to happen. But the thing is, again, the problem it presents is, what film critics do you get? Because you get one film critic doing that for you. If you get another one, they may say something completely opposite from that other film critic. So it's always good to get input and get input from different sources. But the creators need to listen to the input, process it, and then decide for themselves if it's input they should accept or, reject. And I think the creator's got to stay as close to the creation as possible, even though getting outside opinions is always a good idea. But yeah, that's the problem, man, is what critics do you get? Critics who prefer one type of thing or critics who prefer another type of thing? Critics with this disposition or critics with that? It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. Grandmaster writes, with now 7 bad reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and under 50 million opening day, Toy Story 4 can only be called a major disappointment for Pixar. What went wrong with the little wig? I know, right? It's amazing. 7 bad reviews. That's crazy. I think there's 250 reviews on there. Some of them have been bad. But hey, that's what it is. It'll be curious to see what the opening weekend will be. It'll be more than Toy Story 3 was. It'll have a bigger opening weekend than Toy Story 3. So we'll have to see what the final is. I think it's going to come in around 150. I'm guessing around 150 opening weekend. I don't think it'll have as big of an opening weekend as Incredibles 2 did, which is how good is Incredibles 2? It's amazing. But yeah, what a disappointment. You're right, Grandmaster. Emmanuel Ericart writes, why do you cry? He is Conan, the Cimmerian. He won't cry, so I cry for him. Oh, yeah. Really love that movie. Waiting for the old Conan movie like forever. I mean, Conan's an interesting thing, because Arnold Schwarzenegger for years, almost 10 years, has been insisting he's going to do another Conan movie. But every year that passes, he gets 1 year older, and I doubt that's going to happen. Especially if this new Terminator movie doesn't do well. Because if this new Terminator doesn't do well, you can never... If Terminator's all of a sudden some big, huge surprise hit, maybe it might get those Conans talk going again, where he's an older King Conan or something like that. But man, that original one, Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. One of the greatest lines. Sean Connery, losers whine about their best. Arnold Schwarzenegger, what is best in life? Two of the greatest lines in movies, I should say, of all time. All right, Ivan Gonzalez writes, hey, John, longtime listener from the AMC days. Oh, thank you so much, Ivan. Do you think the next 5 to 10 years we'll see a reboot of John Carter of Mars? Love the movie and really wanted to see a sequel. Love your show. Well, thanks so much. And listen, I love that movie. John Carter, which they should have kept the title John Carter of Mars, but of course they changed the title to just John Carter. It sounds like it's a lawyer movie. Anyway, terrible marketing on that film. Terrible marketing on John Carter. Absolutely dreadful marketing on that movie, and it killed the movie. I thought the movie was great. That movie was just good, great, fun sci-fi. Look, 5 to 10 years is like an eternity in the movie business, so it's hard to say absolutely no. But I would say it's unlikely. They got burned pretty bad on John Carter. They lost a lot of money making that movie. What they will definitely not do is do a sequel. Could they reboot it? That's a possibility. Because again, 5 to 10 years in movie time is an eternity. But even though that's the case, I'll still say it's unlikely, unfortunately. It's still unlikely. And by the way, part of the reason why that John Carter movie was so great was because of the direction of Andrew Stanton. Andrew did a great job directing that film, and it totally crashed and burned. So I am as interested in another John Carter movie if you actually get Andrew Stanton to direct it again, because I know he's clued in. I know he's locked in on what John Carter should be on the big screen. It's a good question. I'm going to say it's unlikely, but because it's such a long period of time, it's possible, just unlikely. That's where I'm going to go with. But you and I agree, Ivan. Man, it's a I love that movie. Absolutely love that movie. Emmanuel follows up and writes, The Nice Guys is now one of my favorite comedies. This movie has everything. Russell and Ryan chemistry, of course, it's Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. Chemistry was great. More people need to see this movie. Emmanuel, The Nice Guys has kind of become the poster child movie for my frustration of people who complain about there's no original movies, right? There's no original movies anymore. No original movies, no original movies. And yet, here we have a movie that... Here now we have a movie that is completely original, completely fresh, is absolutely fantastic and wonderful. And people loved it. Critics loved it. It's funny, it's exciting, it's magnificent, and people didn't go to support it. It's really frustrating to me. It's really, really frustrating. But there are lots of movies like The Nice Guys that has happened with. It's just that Nice Guys is a great poster child for it. It's a funny, entertaining, original, big stars, all that kind of everything you could ask for in a movie, and it's totally original, and people didn't go support it. So don't cry to me, Hollywood doesn't make original movies anymore. Actually, they do, and they make more original movies today than any other time in its history. You just don't go to support them. Even when it's got your favorite movie stars, and even when you know it's a great movie because all the word of mouth has been great, and even then you still don't go check it out. I don't think people should go to support bad movies if you hear it's bad, but that was a movie that everybody told you was great, had a great marketing campaign. You, me, and both, Emmanuel. More people need to see that. All right, Frankie Gouge writes, speaking of gunplay, remember Gun Kata? I don't. I remember Jim Kata, but I do not remember Gun Kata. Frankie Gouge follows up with, Equilibrium is one of my favorite Christian Bale films. It's one that not a lot of people have talked about. There's this other one, and I cannot remember the name of the film. Hold on a second. There's this other one that I liked, and even I am having a hard time remembering the name of it. Give me a second here. Where the hell is it? If I look up, hold on a second. Where did it go? Why is it's the name? You were dropped down to like 0 pounds. Where the hell was the name of it again? The Machinist. There it is. The Machinist. That's another one. He's got a couple of really underrated ones. And by the way, if you want to go a little bit more modern, not a lot of people went to go see Hostiles. Hostiles was great. It was directed by Scott Cooper, who's an incredible director, and it's got Rosamund Pike in it, who is like maybe the best actress never to get to A-list kind of status. It's kind of nuts. Anyway, that is a good one, Frankie. All right, Lone Wolf X6 writes, Strange, I beat Dormammu. What did you want to be sorcerers beat? Winchesters. We beat God's sister. Strange. Oh, teach me. Yep. Listen, over the 14 seasons that the Winchesters have been at it in Supernatural, they have faced Satan. Now they're facing God, and they beat God's sister. They beat the Leviathan. On and on and on and on. They beat Crowley. It's an impressive list. It's an impressive list. Royce Freeman writes, have ever seen the same actor playing the same role in 2 different stories about their character, but the movies are unrelated? Huh. An actor playing the same character, but in a different movie that's completely unrelated from the other movie that they played the same character in. It's a good question. I can't think of one. If you guys know of one, jump down to the comments section and let me know. Yeah, jump down there and say that. Anyway, let's see. Where are we at? Mason Kackman writes, Christopher Nolan is one of the best or the best nonlinear storytelling in his movies, and can't wait until Tenet. Yeah, I'm very excited about Tenet. Very excited about it. You got Washington in there. You've got, who's the girl he just put in, and I'm freezing on it. It's got Pattinson in it too, but I'm forgetting the name of the girl who put in it as well. Anyway, terrific cast. It's Christopher Nolan, and you're right. His nonlinear storytelling is pretty damn good. There are people who struggle with it. There are people who struggle with, there are filmmakers who struggle with their nonlinear storytelling, but he is one of the best. He's absolutely one of the best. Okay, Royce Freeman writes, example would be if Day-Lewis played Lincoln in the biopic and then a movie about Booth having Daniel Day-Lewis playing Lincoln in the background. Yeah, I honestly can't think of one. And then at that point there, can you say that the movies are unrelated, or are you saying it's shared cinematic universe? I don't know. It's a good question, but I can't think of one. Maybe Ghost Rider, because technically speaking, if you talk to the filmmakers, Ghost Rider 2 is actually a little bit of a reboot. They just use, but I don't know. That's even stretching it. So I'm not sure. It's a good question, man. I can't think of one off the top of my head. All right. Django19 writes, what do you think about Eraser with Arnold? Saw it numerous times as a kid, as well as Commando, T2, True Lies, Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop. I'll be honest with you, Eraser is not one of my favorite Arnold movies. Not one of my favorite Arnold movies at all. Wasn't that one with Robin Givens? Was Robin Givens his co-star in that? Whole second. 1986. No, sorry, it was Vanessa Williams. It was Vanessa Williams. Sorry about that. Why did I confuse her with Robin Givens? Anyway, yeah, not one of my favorite movies. I mean, you've even had like the iconic James Caan in there, and it's, yeah, not one of my favorites. I think all those ones you just mentioned, Commando, Terminator 2, True Lies, Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, I think I like all those more than Eraser. So Eraser isn't high on the list for me personally. Royce Freeman writes, if someone doing a tough guy voice like Samuel Jackson or Brando Godfather for a mafia, is that profiling and offensive? No, I don't think so. Look, I've always believed this. Stereotypes are created from seeds of truth. Italians like pasta. That's a stereotype, maybe, but it's also true. I love pasta. We do. I love pasta. It's funny, I just mentioned about how Ann and I just watched the new Joe Coy comedy special on Netflix last night. He's got this whole segment where he talks about stereotypes, and he explains it brilliantly. So I'm going to tell you, go find that Joe Coy's comedy special and watch the part where he talks about stereotypes. And now the thing is, stereotypes are based on truth. There are good ones and there are bad ones, but stereotypes are in and of themselves neither naturally good nor naturally bad. Depends on the application of the stereotype. But like, yeah, once again, to say, Italians like pasta. That's a stereotype, but it's true. Ask my wife if Asians love rice. Anne will tell you that rice was always a focal point of their family meals. I mean, so there are stereotypes, but sometimes stereotypes are based on truth. So no, I don't think, it's all depends on how it's handled, Royce. It all depends on how it's handled. But generally speaking, in and of itself, and all other things being equal, no, I don't think that in general is either profiling or offensive. Again, it just depends on the individual execution of it. That's my thought at any rate. Daniel Manzareris writes, love Toy Story 4, although 3 is much better for me. Yeah, I agree. I don't know that I'd say 3 is much better, but as of right now, and I've still only seen Toy Story 4 one time. As of right now, for me, Toy Story 3 is still my favorite Toy Story movie, but damn, I do love Toy Story 4. I do love Toy Story 4. All right, let's move on here. The Gixer 73 writes, now that Toy Story is no longer a trilogy and John Wick is, how does that change your favorite trilogy list? Thanks for the great show. Well, I think that's a misinterpretation, because to me, Toy Story is still a trilogy. There is a fourth part, yeah, but I look at Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 as a trilogy. Just like you could say, well, there are other Star Wars movies, so it's not really a trilogy. Well, no, I still see it as, I still see the first 3 films as a trilogy of films. And you could say the same thing about Toy Story. Yes, they went on to Toy Story 4, but the original Toy Story trilogy took them through, you can call it the Andy saga, right? You could call Toy Stories 1, 2, and 3 the Andy saga. It starts with them and their kid, Andy. It ends with Andy now growing up, leaving off to college, and passing his toys on to a new child. It was the end of the Andy saga. I still look at Indiana Jones. I still look at the first 3 Indiana Jones films as a trilogy. And then there is a fourth one, but you know, I still look at it as a trilogy. So even when you add more. So yeah, I still look at it as a trilogy. I still look at it as a trilogy. The John Wick trilogy, the thing is, it's great action. It's wonderful, fabulous action. But the John Wick trilogy to me is not in the same conversation with the Godfather trilogy. It's not in the same conversation with the Star Wars trilogy. It's not in the same conversation as the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's not in the same conversation to me as the Toy Story trilogy. Even though Toy Story has a fourth film, it doesn't change the fact that that's a trilogy of films and then they did more. So that's how I kind of interpret it. That's how I look at it, but you may look at it a little bit differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right. Rob J00 writes, me and my wife love you, Forky. Oh, and you as well, John. Well, Forky, what do you say about that? I'm honored. Well, you should be, Forky, but John's the best. Oh, thank you, Forky. And he's so handsome. Oh, Forky, enough, please, enough. Forky thanks you, and so do I, man. Thank you for that. Suthius writes, hey, Mr. C, my wife is the one who doesn't fold our laundry. She hates it. I do it. But then they will just sit on the couch for good long days. See, I'm not going to lie to you, Suthius. I used to be like that too. And then I had an epiphany. Wait a minute. I don't have to fold them at all. Now, I start folding the shirts half-hearted, like one fold. With the shirts, just grab them, fold, throw it in the thing. I don't do the proper folding at all, but I only did that because it's the only way I can make them all fit in my drawer. But honestly, before that, it was the same thing. I would get my laundry out of the dryer when I was younger, pour it out on my bed or on a couch or something, and it would literally sit there for a couple of days before I would reluctantly force myself go to actually fold it. That was, it was dark times, Suthius. It was dark times. Nick writes, I suffer from CP, so love seeing a deaf kid in Toy Story 4. I suffer from I don't know what CP is, to be honest with you, Nick. So I apologize. So I love seeing a deaf kid in Toy Story 4. Was there a deaf kid in Toy Story 4? I don't remember there being a deaf kid in maybe I'm forgetting something now. What's funny is the same night I saw Toy Story 4, I saw Child's Play, and there was a kid with a hearing impairment in Child's Play who's got thing. Did you mean Child's? Oh, I suffer. Did CP mean Child's Play? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Sorry about that, Nick. I'm missing the meaning of what it is you're saying. I'm missing the meaning. All right. EME writes, I rewatched John Carter and couldn't believe how much I loved it. It's so good. Saw it initially in theater and thought it was okay. Opinions do change with time. And it's right. I mean, look, the first time I watched, I still can't believe it. Probably my second favorite Quentin Tarantino movie is Inglourious Basterds. It's probably my second favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. Funny thing is, I hated it the first time I saw it. I didn't just dislike it. It wasn't just not my favorite. I hated that movie the first time I've seen it, the first time I saw it. Then, because a girl I wanted to like me says, let's watch this movie. I'm like, okay, sure. And then I watched it again with her. I'm like, what? Why didn't I like this the first? This movie's awesome. It's my second favorite. Now, that never happens. It's happened maybe 2 or 3 times in my life. But you're right. We watch a movie once and then we watch it again. And suddenly we have a little bit of a different perception of it. Now, I'm sure you didn't hate John Carter the first time you saw it, and now you loved it. But you're right. Sometimes we can watch it again. We have different perspectives and we have different tastes, maybe 10 years later. And it strikes us a little bit differently, and it does happen. Suthius writes, I'm more curious as to what movie will fall in that $500 million difference between Titanic and the top two. That's a lot of real estate to fill in. It's true. I mean, even though we've got a number of $2 billion movies now, still none of them except Endgame have actually mustered enough to pass Titanic. And I think, obviously, before we get a film that does beat Avatar or does beat Endgame, we're going to have a couple more that'll beat Titanic and get into that range in there. But it is crazy. You got these films that right there at the top at like 2.7 and then all the way down here at like 2.2, and there's like a $500 million gap. It is weird that there's such a chasm there. And it is going to be interesting to see how that evolves over time. All right. Where are we at here? I think we were at Nick. There we are. Nick writes, please excuse my ignorance. What's Bring On the Filthy? Okay. I still get people ask me this about once every 2 or 3 months. Bring On the Filthy started some of you have heard this story 10 times. Ages ago, prior to the first 50 Shades of Grey movie coming out, a topic came up that I believe was something about should it be should it be rated R, or should it be rated NC-17 and all that kind of stuff. And we started talking about things and blah, blah, blah. And I said something along the lines of, I mean, you know, you just got to be careful how much filthy do you want to put into it. And I said, now don't get me wrong. I love the filthy. Bring on the filthy. And I said that during a mailbag show back in the AMC days. One time I said, you know, it depends on how much filthy you want in there. Now, don't get me wrong. I love filthy. Bring on the filthy. And after that, it never stopped. After that, it felt like everybody who was sending in messages ended it with, bring on the filthy. And it just kind of stuck ever since. And I got to admit, I kind of like it. I like the life philosophy of bring on the filthy. But that's where it started, and it's just been here ever since, Nick. All right, Mike Hill writes, but John, dilemma for you if Tom Hanks said he would meet Anne, but you have to break dance in front of the President of the USA and the Queen of England. Oh, God, I would do it. There are a lot of things I could do for my wife that I would not do that for, but for her to meet Tom Hanks, I would probably do it. Or not. I don't know. That's a dilemma, Mike, that is a bridge I will hopefully never have to cross. David Coker writes, Spider-Man game-changing post-credits is gonna involve Venom. Feige was just teasing us saying it could come because he knows it's in Far From Home with multiverse. Oh, I said that earlier in the show, man. I think there's as strong as a 7% chance. Because Feige himself was just saying, it's likely, yeah, probably someday we'll see Venom and Spider-Man crossover, but it's up to Sony because it's their characters. It's up to them to decide that. But that would be a mind-altering, game-changing post-credit scene if all of a sudden Eddie Brock showed up. The Tom Holland Eddie Brock. If he all of a sudden showed up in a post-credit scene, that changes everything. It absolutely changes everything. Again, I don't think it's likely that that's going to happen, but I'll give it as strong of a chance as any other theory. I'll give it a solid 7% chance, man. Solid 7%. All right. Where are we at here? That was David. Now we're down to Matt Brown, who writes, is the best movie, worst movie still going? It's awesome. Yes, it is still alive, but it's been a number of weeks since we've done another episode. It's just been very, very difficult for us to line up our schedules to record a couple of new episodes. But do not worry, a couple of new episodes are coming. I just can't say at this point when they're coming. But that's the podcast with me, Robert Meyer Burnett, and Cody Miller, the Olympic swimmer. And we love doing that podcast. It's just a matter of finding the time to actually sit down and do it. And hopefully we're going to be able to get back to that soon. All right. I don't know what to put writes. Batman Walk of Fame, class of 2020. I don't know what that means. Django 19 writes, I know you don't play many games, but I know you love the Last of Us story movie, but now that you have a PS4, will you buy The Last of Us 2 next year? I'll probably get it. Yeah, I'm probably going to buy Next of Us 2. As soon as it comes out, I probably will. I'm looking forward to it. The stuff I've seen from it so far has been really moving. I like the story of the first one. So yeah, I will probably get it. I still got my PS4 controller sitting right here. Here it is, ready to go. So I'll probably get that one, yes. All right, Suthius writes, if given the chance, which would you choose? The Amazing Race, Big Brother, or Survivor? I love traveling, so Amazing Race for me all day, every day. I'll be honest with you, I don't watch any of them. I don't watch any of those. Like everybody else in the world, I watched a bit of the first season or two of Survivor, but I have never seen a single episode of The Amazing Race. I've never watched I've seen a glimpse of it, but I've never watched a single episode all the way through of Big Brother. So I don't know. Honestly, none. If none is an option, Suthius, I would take none. I'm not into those shows at all, to be honest. David Tapia writes, excited for Jane, Silent Bob, and Top Gun 2 at San Diego Comic-Con. For those of you going, what? Yeah, they announced they're going to bring Tom Cruise, and Top Gun 2 is coming to San Diego Comic-Con. I think that's a brilliant move. Excellent. And I'm always looking forward to the next Kevin Smith movie, of course. Django 19 writes, without spoiling it, I thought Toy Story 4 was also one of the creepiest. It is. If I was a kid, I would have probably been a little scared. And I think Toy Story knows and Pixar knows you can scare kids a little bit. Like, let's look at Incredibles 2. There's some scary stuff in there. And I think they realize, hey, you know what? Kids like being scared too, if you do it in the right way. But I remember Ann and I last night, we were talking about Toy Story 4. She goes, man, Pixar should straight up make a horror movie because there's some stuff in Toy Story 4 that is straight up creepy. And it is, and they used it beautifully. And but I think there are ways to do that. I do. Gavin Downard writes, saw Child's Play and Toy Story today by myself. Just curious as to how many times you go to movies alone. People seem to think it's weird that I go alone. Love the show, by the way. Thank you for everything. I have no problems going to a movie by myself. I have no problems with it. For example, I saw Child's Play by myself. Ann and I went to go see Toy Story. She wasn't interested in Child's Play. So after we saw Toy Story, she drove home and I stayed at the theater and went and saw Child's Play. I'd say I probably see a movie by myself at least twice a month. At least twice a month I go see a movie by myself because it's really easy for me. The big AMC Burbank 16 is literally a 10, 12 minute walk up the street from where I live. So I just walk over there, use my A-list, go in and watch the movie. And because there's a lot of movies I got to see that Ann doesn't want to see. Or maybe one of my buddies that I go to the movies with doesn't want to see it either. Or they're not available by the time I have to see it. So yeah, I got no problem going to a movie by myself. None. I don't think there's anything weird about it at all. I think it's perfectly fine. Lone Wolf X6 writes, is it me or does Castiel get nerfed each season? I don't know what your definition of nerfed is, so I can't answer that. But I love the Castiel character, but I don't know what you mean by nerf. Different people can mean different things by that. Nick writes, past 10 years, too saturated, sequels, remakes, reboots. Nope, not at all. Because here's the thing. Are we going to sit here and wish that Toy Story 4 didn't exist? It's one of the greatest movies of the year. Are we going to wish that Avengers Endgame didn't exist? No, look, the problem is that, yes, there are more sequels, remakes, reboots, but there's also more completely original film ever made in history as well. Because overall, there are more movies being made in any other time in history. It is not too saturated. What is too saturated? I've never understand that when people say it's too saturated. If you don't want to go see it, then don't go see it. Why complain? Now, if them making sequels and remakes and reboots was limiting the number of original films getting made, then I'd say there's an argument. But there isn't. There is no shortage of great original films being made. People just don't go to support it. Booksmart is the best movie of the year. It's the best movie. It's better than Endgame. It's better than John Wick 3. Of course, that's all my subjective opinion, but it's the best film of the year. None of you went to go see it. Nobody went to go see it. You know, we were just talking about things like, look, great, magnificent indie film gets made, smaller, original, whether it's from the big studios or from indie studios, great original film is getting made every year more than any other time in history. But we just focus on the sequels and the reboots, and people don't go to see the other ones. So there is no argument to be made here. If the existence of all these sequels and reboots was preventing studios and producers from making original film, then that would be a problem. But there's not. There's more original film today than any other time in history. People aren't going to support it. You know, and so it's not the sequels and remakes' faults. It's not their fault. It's the movie going audience. It's, you know, we vote of what we want by what we go to see. Got to start voting more for these really good original films that studios are giving us. Anyway, that's just my thought on that. Frankie Gouge writes, gun kata was the fighting style in Equilibrium. Was it? I don't even remember that in the least, but thank you for following up on that, Frank. I appreciate that. Valhalla Erickson writes, long shot I know, but I wouldn't mind Joss Whedon directing an MCU X-Men film. The guy who introduced us to the Avengers, wouldn't that be fitting? Yeah, yes and no. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll see anything that Joss Whedon directs. I'll see anything he directs. Serenity, Firefly, Avengers Age of Ultron, which gets better every time I see it, because I used to think Ultron was just good, but every time I see it, I like it more and more. Anyway, whatever it is, I'm down for. If he was doing an X-Men movie, of course I'd be down for that. Absolutely. But I think there's some other projects he could do with a Marvel that I think would be pretty well. And I do think there have been a lot of signs over the last year or two that Joss may be coming back into the MCU fold. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Valhalla Erickson follows up and writes, hope Aunt May gets a character arc because I'm finding the sex lamp jokes at her expense troublesome. I don't know. Characters are there to serve the movie. The movie is not there to serve characters. You don't compromise your movie to give a character arc because the character deserves it. No character deserves anything. They are there to serve the movie. And if the best way they can serve the movie is to have a humorous joke line through, then be a humorous joke line through. I think Aunt May has been more than that. I think they've used her better than that already. I don't think, have they made a couple of jokes about, sexy Aunt May? Of course they have, but that hasn't been her only contribution. Anyway, I don't need her to have a character arc. To me, it is not important for the Spider-Man movie for Aunt May to have a character arc. That would be compromising the movie just for the sake of doing something. And I don't think that's the right strategy. I don't think that's the right strategy at all. The characters are there to serve the story, not the other way around. And if they decide there's a way that there's something they want to do in their story that requires Aunt May to have a character arc, great, then I'm all for it. But that's the order of priority. It starts with what does the movie need, not does what the character need or the character deserve, because no character deserves anything. It's a fictitious character made up with words on a page. So anyway, that's just kind of the way I see it. All right, Suthius writes. Where'd Suthius go? There's Suthius. Suthius writes, is there an actor or actress that is for some reason you can't stand seeing on screen? No matter the role or movie he's in, I can't stand Matthew Modine. Really? Something about him that screams sleazebag to me. No. I mean, okay, let's put it this way. No, for just no reason. Chris Brown, I'll never watch anything with him in it because he beats women. So no. But if you're just talking about just any actor that for no reason whatsoever, just for whatever reason, I just can't stand seeing their face on screen. I don't think there's any of them. I don't think there's any like that for me. But for other reasons, yeah, there are a couple that for other reasons. I still remember, I can't remember what it was. Chris Brown, this is not long after, Chris Brown decided his favorite hobby was smashing women in the face and putting them in the hospital. But I remember the first fallout I had with AMC. And I loved working with AMC. But me and my boss, and we had such a great relationship. We knew that we were totally safe to get in each other's faces and have arguments over everything because we trusted each other. So we knew we could do that. And it was great. And I really valued my relationship that I had with my boss at AMC, who's the guy who recruited me to AMC. His name was Justin. Anyway, I remember I think it was the first time that there was a real problem between me and AMC. And it was all over. Chris Brown was going to be in this movie called, I think, Battle of the Century or Battle of the Year. It was a dance movie of some sorts. And Chris Brown was going to be in it. And I told AMC, because, we were doing things for AMC. Our job is to promote the movies that are going to be playing in AMC theaters. We always gave our honest opinions, but we had to talk about these movies, right? So anyway, I let my bosses know, because I think a trailer for Battle of the Century, I can't remember the exact name of the movie. A movie came out, a trailer for the movie came out. And I just got an email one day, say, hey, just noticed that you haven't mentioned anything about that trailer. And I had to get back to him and say, just so you guys know, we are not going to be talking about that movie at all. I'm giving that movie no press. I'm not going to bad talk it. I'm not going to do whatever, but I am not giving that movie that one of the first names on the poster is the name of a guy who beats women. I'm not promoting that movie. Again, I'm not going to work against the movie. I'm not going to say bad things about it. I'm not going to crap on it, but we're not talking about that movie. To which AMC replied, yes, you are talking about that movie because it's going to be playing on our screens. We have a relationship with the studio. And I totally get where AMC was coming from. I did. I totally respect where they were coming from. We work with this studio, blah, blah. We need to talk about this movie. So you are talking about it. And it was the first time that I felt very strongly about this because I have little sisters. Sorry. Some guy beats my sister in the face so much she's in the hospital and her face looks like pounded beef. That guy's not walking the earth anymore. Just saying. From an Italian family. Just saying. That guy's not breathing anymore. So I am not going to promote a movie that is promoting a guy who beats women. I'm just not going to do it. So it went back and forth, and it finally came to this. I said, look, I'm not going to promote this movie. That's just it. That's period, end of sentence, done. And as long as I'm running this place, because remember, AMC was run out of Kansas, this was run out of LA. I said, I've never drawn a line in the sand with you guys before on any issue, but on this, I am telling you, our operation here is not going to be promoting this movie. If you really feel it's that important that this movie get promoted, you got to fire me. Because as long as I'm here and as long as I'm in charge, we're not going to do that. We're just not. And so because I felt that strongly about the issue. I felt that. Now, there were many other times of things I didn't want to do that AMC said, come on, do it. And I said, all right, fine, I'll do it. Yeah. But that was one that I felt very, very strongly about. And when I presented that last one to them, I guess something clicked with them and they could really see that it meant a lot to me and all that kind of stuff. And they said, okay, fine. But please, can this not happen again? I said, well, I mean, it hasn't happened up until now, but this is a pretty big deal. So, I mean, it's just how I feel about this and blah, 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 blah. But other than that kind of stuff, I can't think of an actor that I just don't like their face, like Matt, which by the way, I thought Modine was great in Stranger Things, but at any rate, so I could totally see that Soothius. All right, next up, Nick writes, CP equal, cerebral palsy, that's what it is. Yes, deaf kid in classroom in Toy Story 4. I don't remember there being I've got to go see it again anyway, but now you just gave me another reason why I need to go see it again, Nick. And by the way, if you're interested in going to see Child's Play, Andy, the main kid in Child's Play, is a kid with a hearing impairment, and he has to wear a why am I freezing on the name? What is the earpiece you wear? I can't remember. Hearing aid. That's what it is. Hearing aid. He has to wear a hearing aid, and that comes to play in the movie as well. So that one also features it as well. So you might be interested in that. So thanks for following up on that, Nick. Michael Bradley writes, hello, John. Finally caught Aladdin. Good, man. While not the best movie of the summer, no, definitely not. Definitely the biggest surprise. Can't believe I'm actually hoping for a sequel. And this is the funny thing. I'm not going to give anything away. But Michael, you'll know what I'm talking about. See, I'm just going to tell you, Aladdin, the live action movie, ends a little bit differently than Aladdin, the animated movie. Just so you know, Aladdin, the live action movie, ends a little bit differently than Aladdin, the animated movie. And if you were to say to me, should Aladdin, the animated movie, get a sequel? I'd probably go, there's really nothing for you to do. I mean, if you know the ending of the Aladdin animated film, like, where do you go? I think with the ending of the live action, there are some possibilities. I mean, it's strange, but again, I don't want to go into it too much, but I will agree with you, Michael, because I had heard, there was some negative buzz surrounding Aladdin going into it. The trailers didn't hype a lot of people. A lot of people were still really questioning whether or not Will Smith should have been the genie. A lot of people still questioning whether Will Smith should have been the genie. He looked a little Ghibli in the trailers. And then the first round of reviews came out and they weren't all that great. So I went in to see it thinking, well, it's probably not going to be so good. I thought it was delightful. Again, I completely agree with you, Michael. Not best movie of the summer. Not going to be my top 10 films of the year. Nothing like that. But it's really enjoyable. It was a delightful, enjoyable movie. Will Smith was great as Genie. I even liked Mina Massoud. I think that's the name of the kid who plays. Is it Mina Massoud? Mina Massoud. I've liked Naomi Scott for a while. I just thought it was great. I really did. I just thoroughly enjoyable, fun and charming and all that kind of stuff. And you're right, man. One of the big surprise movies for me for the year. Lone Wolf X6 writes, how you compare your film criticism to Jeremy Jahns and Chris Stuckman? I don't know that there is. Look, every film critic is just all film critics are film fans. All right. We talk about the experience we had with the movie. And everybody, all film critics, have their own unique thumbprint about our own dispositions, our own tastes, our own likes, our own dislikes, our own whatever. And every movie, like every piece of art, hits every single film critic a little bit differently and a little bit uniquely. But really, at the end of the day, it's just all about, in our own way, expressing what we thought about the movie, and that's kind of what it is. Otherwise, there's no way to compare them. Chris Feldman writes, Kevin Smith played Silent Bob in Scream 3. Does that fit the earlier question about the same character in different films? I don't even remember Scream 3, so I can't remember. But if he's playing Silent Bob, then no, that's kind of connected in some way. Like it'd be like because Silent Bob is one character, right? It's like if somebody played, what's a good example? Let's go with the old example of Abraham Lincoln. Daniel Day-Lewis plays Abraham Lincoln in a movie. If he comes back to play it again in another movie with a totally different cast and it's a totally different thing and whatever, then that's fine. Because he's not playing the same Abraham Lincoln in that movie as the Abraham Lincoln he played in this. He's playing Abraham Lincoln in both, but because it's a totally different universe, totally different thing, it's a different Abraham Lincoln. With Kevin Smith playing Silent Bob, which again, I don't even remember that because I don't even remember Scream 3. To me, if he's playing Silent Bob, then he's Silent Bob. It's not a different Silent Bob. It's not whatever. So I don't know if that would fit, but it all depends on our interpretations of the question, right? So there's that, Chris. All right. Rob J00 just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Rob. So does Stefan Beam. Thank you for that. I appreciate that, guys. Suthius writes, not watch those 3 shows, but to participate in. Well, again, I don't know what any of the shows are. I know Big Brother is people in a house. Great Race is some kind of race, but I don't know anything about those shows, so I can't possibly give you an opinion about what I would want to participate in because I don't know anything about them, so it's kind of the same answer. Artur Mansouri writes, love the show. Thank you, Artur. Never miss a day. Thanks, John. Oh, man, thank you. It's always kind of cool when somebody just wants to write in to say something nice, so thank you for that, sir. Lone Wolf X6 writes, nerfed. He started powerful, but he just kept getting weaker as it went on. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but it's not like they just make him weaker. It's like things happen to him in the story that weaken him. You know, it would have been difficult to have, remember, Castiel was never meant to be a long-running regular character on the show. He was supposed to play a certain part for a certain amount of time in the show, but it's just that the writers liked him, the audience liked him, the chemistry he had with the Winchester brothers kind of necessitated it, but it would have been problematic to have him at the power level that he was at when he first got introduced in the show. He's been through a lot. A number of things have affected his power level, whether it's been stuff about his grace or whether it's been his return from the dead or whether it's been whatever. A number of things he's done. It's not that they just naturally kind of made him weaker and weaker as they went. So they've always made it narratively make sense. At least to me. Jesse Keller writes, what made you more hungry, Ratatouille or Chef? Chef. Ratatouille made me hungry, but Chef, watching the actual food, amazing. And by the way, I watched my first couple of episodes of the Jon Favreau Chef show on Netflix yesterday. That's really fun, and that made my mouth water like absolute crazy. Nick writes, final 2 questions today, guys, and then we're going to wrap it up here. Nick writes, over under 25%, Robert Downey Jr. and other actors come back to MCU as doppelgangers. If multiverse is real, surely they'd be up for that. Easy money for them. Oh, look, it's 100% that one way or the other, they're coming back. Whether they're saying this universe is Tony Stark is resurrected from the dead, or whether they do some lame ass time travel multiverse excuses, it's still Tony Stark and he's still back. 100% he'll be back. I have no doubt about that. Maybe not this year, maybe not in the next 3 years, but he will be back. Of that, I have no doubt. Django 19 writes, you keeping up with the Gold Cup? Nope, not at all. I'm not a soccer guy. Not the best tournament, but Canada is in it. They won their first game 4-0, but lost their second game to Mexico 3-1, which Mexico is a much better soccer country. No, I'm not following it. I am like a lot of other people in the world. When the World Cup comes along, I break out the Italian flag and I'll watch the World Cup, but that's the only time. I'm a every 4 years bandwagon soccer fan. Other than that, I don't really follow it. And final question today. Artur Mansouri writes, is there any TV show where you don't have to watch the first season? Besides anthology shows like Black Mirror, I don't think there is one. I think there are lots. There are a number of shows that I jumped on late in the game and watched them and was perfectly fine with them, and then later went back and watched season 1. Supernatural is one of those. I think I jumped on board with Supernatural in like halfway through season 2 or season 3, something like that. All I remember is that I didn't see season 1. And I didn't see season 1 for a long time. And I was totally into the show. The show got me caught up to date. I knew what was going on. I picked up on it. I figured it out. Sons of Anarchy is another one. I did not watch Sons of Anarchy from the beginning. I think I got into it maybe in season 3 or season 2 or season 3. And after I finished that season and I was waiting for the next season, then I went back and watched season 1. But yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of shows you can just pick up and start watching. Yeah, I really do. If they tell their stories well, you'll catch on to what the important things are. So yeah, I think there are. I absolutely think there are. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me. We've gone over 2 hours and I didn't take my break today. Normally I take a 5-minute break, but I just decided to keep rolling. My throat's killing me right now. But that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. It's not the John Campea Show today. It's Saturday. It's open mic. Thank you so much for being here for open mic. Thank you guys for sending in all the questions, not just because you gave us fun topics to talk about, but also because you supported the channel as we did it along the way. So thank you to all you guys for that so much. You have no idea how much that means to me and the guys here. Don't forget, open mic returns tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we're back for another open mic. And then tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. is our Toy Story 4 open spoiler discussion. We'll talk about Toy Story 4 for like maybe 45 minutes, an hour. If you've seen the movie, come on by and chat with us about it too. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And until then, bye-bye.